According to the U.S. Elections Project, more than 93 million Americans have cast their ballots early. That number shatters previous records in many states. So we're joined now by Meena Bose. She is a political science and presidential studies professor at Hofstra University. Thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So obviously this election is unlike any other in history. More than 91.6 million people have already voted. How do you see these early votes affecting the key swing states? And when the race is called, also taking into consideration the mail-in ballots that won't be counted until after election night?
Well, without a doubt, this is a historic election, a crossroads election, and I think the early voting signifies that. We can see how important it is that people have been standing in line for early voting, waiting in the rain, waiting for hours to cast their vote. We see the reports. I've heard this anecdotally, students telling their reports about voting for the first time, people volunteering on election day, planning to volunteer on election day. This is a historic election, and the United States is poised to increase by several million some 138, 139 million votes that were cast in the 2016 presidential race. Now, how will they be counted? Some states permit early counting of the ballots, including the key swing states. Florida is one, Arizona is another. And so I think on election night, what we'll start to see is as the polls close, and this varies state by state. We have a federal system here. So the states, 50 states and DC have 50 different sets of rules, 51 different sets of rules. We should know if we have a clear result from Florida early in the evening on election night, and that should be when the polls close, and the panhandle will be 8 o'clock. The rest of the state is 7 o'clock. That will give us a sign, I think, as far as what to look for next in, say, states that have become battleground states in this election: Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, and then, of course, on to the key states from 2016, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, looking at Iowa as well. All of these are states that are critical for President Trump's re-election campaign. Florida, I would say, while not decisive, will be a very clear indicator. If Joe Biden wins Florida, the president's path to re-election becomes very difficult. If President Trump wins Florida, then we start to look at the other states, again, to get to the number of 270 electoral college votes. In the last election, President Trump had 306. So there are 36 ballots there, 36 votes that are at stake. And Florida has 29. Texas has 38. Pennsylvania has 20. Again, it's going to be it's going to be certainly a very interesting evening on election night, and we could get some results soon. Other states like Pennsylvania that start counting on election day could we may not know until a few days after the election.
So an estimated 150 million people will vote in this presidential election compared to 136 million in 2016. So isn't the real question this time around which way these nearly 20 million new voters will go?
Well, that's certainly part of it, and also the voters from 2016, will they stay with the candidate they supported? We had a number of voters in 2016 that cast ballots for third-party candidates, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party. In 2020, the number of independent voters, of undecided voters, is much less. So we're really looking at not just overall turnout and who everyone will vote for, but particularly looking at demographic groups, women voters, men voters, urban versus suburban voters, college educated versus non-college educated. These were all variables that were demographics that were very important in 2016, particularly suburban voters. Education played a big part in identifying which candidate voters supported in 2016. So we'll be looking at those demographics from the exit polls to see what they indicate when the results aren't immediately clear. And of course, certainly bringing in new voters is highly important as well.
Okay, I want to quickly talk about Texas. In 2016, about 8.9 Texans voted. Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton by more than 800,000 votes. Fast forward to 2018, almost the same number of people voted in the midterms there, and Beto O'Rourke, who is running for a Senate seat, lost by only 215,000 votes. So, as with the rest of the country, a lot of new people registered in that 2-year span. Now, 2020, more people have voted already than the total number of Texans in 2016. So, won't Texas come down again? My same question to these new voters.
Well, I think that's a great question, and that's without a doubt the new voters will be significant. It's also a question, I think, of who the Senate race for Senator Cornyn is running for a re-election will bring out party supporters, both as he's facing a strong challenge in that race, and that. So I guess I would say again, it's a combination of new voters and party supporters, and that combination puts Texas very much why it's become a battleground state, a swing state. It's just we'll have to see what the results bring in, but without a doubt, the historic numbers of new voters from 2016 to 2018 to 2020 will make Texas very competitive for the presidential race and also in congressional races, particularly the Senate seat.
All right, Professor Bose, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Appreciate having you.
Thanks for having me.